This is your sign to do whatever the hell you were supposed to do. Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 213. It is the first day of the week, aka the Vulcan Raven workout. I'm on my way to the gym right now and I'm feeling great. I'm actually going a little earlier than I normally do, so good thing. What the fuck was that? Anyways, to the main subject matter at hand. This came up because something happened to me recently. Something interesting happened to me, which I will talk about in the voiceover. And I wanted to talk about something, and that was this idea of the sign. Whether it is, we as a species or something innate in our lizard brain decides that at a certain moment when we are desperate for all types of things, it doesn't matter how small or large, there's always a thing where we look up into the sky, into a deity, whichever one we believe, or whether you believe in one or not, you look up and you ask, give me a sign. Give me a sign. And I just want to talk about that, the sign. Why? One, because I want to be somebody's sign right now because it'll be funny, but also two, because sometimes there are signs and we miss them because they can be straight in your face, looking at you dead on, dead in the eye, and you're like, where is it? Where is it? And you don't see it. You don't see it because you're not paying attention. And you're not paying attention for a multitude of reasons. But that is just something I wanted to talk about. Mostly the idea of the sign. Why do we always go to it as a last-ditch effort, as a way to somehow allow a deity to look upon you and say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do? And it's interesting because it is a thing that a lot of people end up doing without even necessarily realizing that they're doing it, or they'll say the universe, give me a sign, but realistically it's a deity that they're looking for to give them help out of this situation, whatever the hell it is, because it could be anything. Literally, some people will be like, give me a sign that I should do this or that, or whatever, and some people, nothing will happen because realistically the universe isn't necessarily into playing for you, but for some people they will get a sign, and sometimes it's a hell of a sign. So it all just depends, really. Sometimes, like I said before, you're gonna get a sign and not even see it. You're gonna be blind to it because you're so focused on something else, you're not even gonna realize that you saw the sign. So I just wanted to talk about this. Plus, it's a great Ace of Base song, so I love talking about that as well. But still, the sign is such a very particular thing, but I know people know exactly what I'm talking about because I know that it is an experience that most people have had where they see something, they don't necessarily know what they want to do, they don't trust the gut, which we'll talk about gut. Actually, we'll talk about gut instinct probably in the next episode. Hopefully, I gotta write that down, but we will talk about that, how that's different. But you don't trust it, you don't trust the gut feeling, so you look upon something else, whether that be spiritual or physical, and you hope that the manifestation of the spiritual comes into the physical and thus gives you the sign. The sign could be literally anything, but the sign is to tell you whether or not you should do something or not do something. And it is astonishing that it happens so much. It happens in our times of desperation, which is also an interesting key factor to it. But I really like this discussion, and we'll probably talk more about all of these things because I really do want to talk about a lot of this stuff and also why I ended up doing this today, because I had a sign in front of me and I missed it. But we'll talk more about that on the inside. Alright, so start this day off with dips, which were fantastic. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. The sign, or looking for a sign. So the reason why this even came up in the first place was because on the day of recording this episode today, the sign, I was editing this episode, the lost episodes, where I discuss about lost episodes. And that's when I realized, oh my god, I fucked up. There are a bunch of episodes that are gonna be missing because when I backed up my stuff, I put it in the wrong area. And I didn't even realize it until I was done editing that I was like, oh my god, this is so far ahead that I'm like, it didn't make any sense. And it wasn't until I actually noticed that it was right in front of me that, hey, this is happening to you right now, motherfucker. Pay attention to what's going on.
you're gonna fuck yourself over later when things are gonna be out of order in its entirety. And I was like, holy shit, you know, that's when I realized, I was like, oh my God, thank God there was a sign here and I listened to it. The idea that there are things like that in your life generally to give you the sign, whatever it is kind of insane to me, but it is true. I think there are a lot of things that will happen like that. And it's always interesting to me that most of the time when it comes, like the asking for a sign, you ask whatever deity it is for a sign. It's always in times of desperation, a time where you are what is in theory at your wit's end, where you hope that something tells you what to do, as well as a little bit of a tinge of, indecision. But sometimes it's not just indecision, because there are some times where you are doing something or something happens where you need the sign because it will help you push you into something else, or it's like the final thing to like knock over all the dominoes. But it's just interesting to me that it always comes up, and I feel like it's a thing that 99% of people have experienced. I don't think there has been a person out there that hasn't wanted to have the sign there, but a lot of the times the sign is right in front of you and people will see it, but sometimes they're just so close to you that you just don't see it. It's kind of like how your nose is technically being seen by your eyes at all times, but your brain gets rid of the information there. So sometimes it's there, you just don't see it. But that's a whole other conversation, which I will talk about in the next episode. I think when it comes down to it, it is something that is kind of crazy because of the fact that people always want it. It's always when things are down is when we usually listen to this sign. Not all the time. We'll get to that on the other episode. But most of the time, I think that when it comes up, we want something, like some type of answer, somebody from above us, from above our pay grade, to tell us what to do. I understand why that happens, and sometimes it's not even just tell us what to do, but give us a warning, give us some type of guidance to make sure that whatever we're doing is the right decision, and rightfully so. I think it's just one of those innate, natural things that I think everybody kind of has, that they want to see something kind of guide them into making sure that they do the right decision. And I think with the rise of things like social media and things like that, you don't really ever get a natural sign. Sometimes it'll happen naturally where things just kind of collide together, but it's very rare where now you'll just happen to get it. Now with everything that you can't really trust in such things like advertisements and things like that. But I feel like when it comes to your life, when it's actually a life matter, it will naturally come up. It won't just all of a sudden try to, hey, buy this thing or buy that thing. Nothing like that.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed. We actually have one. I had seated leg curls because I've decided to work on my legs wherever I can fit in a little extra volume here and there. I may not record it all. I may record it sometimes. It all just depends. But mostly because my legs were looking a little small the other day in the mirror, and I did not like that. So I'm going to start sprinkling it in where I can. And I still have to figure out the name for the other day, but it is what it is. That's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. But sizes skipped, none, got everything in. So that's why I did it. So anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. The sign, or signs, or the sign, I guess. It is a fascinating phenomena that happens quite often when it comes to things, and personally it's interesting when they do happen and you don't really see it until hindsight is 2020. That's where a lot of it comes from, where you really are staring it in the face, but then all of a sudden it doesn't hit you until you look at it past that, and then it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, let's say in a relationship, when all the red flags all of a sudden come to a head, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, this person was terrible for me, or things like that, where you'll have things just kind of hit you in the head, but right after everything's happened, once the emotions have calmed down, where you can look at it from an objective point of view. And it is interesting though, but it is interesting to me that when we are in a desperate situation and or in a moment of relentless unclarity, we will discard those signs that we can obviously take something away from it, and we will throw them at the wayside because we won't realize it. And I think that's the entire point of this video, really, is just to look up occasionally, you know, make sure that, you know, you aren't missing the signs or the sign that you're looking for in something, because you could be missing it for all you know, and it could be fucking you over. It could be literally anything from side effects of something that you're taking, or how certain foods make you feel, or things like that. It's very little. Those are things that are more objective, and mostly when it doesn't come to the extreme, but sometimes the signs are there, you know what I mean? There are things that are just off that you're not necessarily paying attention to. This is where I would say, pay attention to some things. Maybe pay attention to the small details, which is funny because I had another video that was basically about this, but this one is a little bit different because this one is about the sign. The fact that people look for that thing, that one thing that will tell them what to do, as if there isn't a thing in their body, aka their gut, to tell them what to do, although that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But sometimes they need some external validation from the world, from the universe, from some deity to tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. And I get it, because I have been there. I think most people have been there, where they want something to tell them what to do because they're so torn because of something. And it is a feeling that is normal. I'm not gonna say it's not normal, because I feel like everybody's had that. And if you haven't had that, I would like to know about that in the comments below. But with that being said, it is an interesting thing to think about, because everybody always goes to that. It's as if in times of desperation, need, and all this other stuff, you look for the sign. And sometimes the sign's there, but you refuse to look at it. And sometimes the sign isn't there. And that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This one is a more woohoo, out there one. I love talking about these types of things because it's very interesting to me. But with that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. Please share a story about maybe a sign that you missed, maybe a sign that you didn't miss, maybe a sign that you saw and you ignored, and then you should have ignored it. You know, there are all of those possibilities in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please stay safe out there, stay warm out there, keep it heavy, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace!